Okay, so we will be diving straight into FMEA, Failure Modes Effect Analysis class, second section. We've had our first section, and I hope that you joined the first section class. But if you had missed it, there's no problem. You can continue with the second section, read up the first section, which is page 1 to 10. We'll be having the second section for page 10 to 20, 11 to 20 rather. My name is Professor Christopher Emomolen. I'll be taking this class. So failure modes process, failure mode effect process. That is where we are starting from for today's class. The standard FMEA methodology follows 8 steps. 1 is to define the scope of the job. You should have to look at the job, a process, and define the scope of the job. Number 2 is list process function or product requirements. You have to look at process function. What is the process function or product requirement? What is the function of the process or the requirement of the product? It's a simple thing. So first, what are we going to do? That is the scope. 2, what is the function of the product process or the process itself? What is the function? Are we producing a remote control? What does it do? It is used to control the television, So step 3, identify possible failure modes. What are the possible failures that can happen during that production, during that process? What are the possible deviation that can happen from the original intended plan? Determine the effect of failure. If there's a failure, what happens? What is the effect? This is kind of similar to safety risk assessment. It's almost the same. Number 1 is define the scope of the job. 2, the requirement of the product. 3, identify the failure modes, likely failure. 4, the effect if there is a failure. There is a way we rate it. We are going to get there. So you see how the effect of failure is being rated. 5, identify the cause. 6, evaluate current control. 7, calculate RPN. We're going to get to the meaning of RPN in the next slide. Recommend and implement corrective action. Failure mode is a live document, is a living document, and should be updated continuously because science itself is verisimilitude. What that means is that what is correct today might need to be updated tomorrow. Yes. So it's a living document, and there must be adjustment in the processes at all time. So understand failure modes. What is failure mode? Failure mode is a specific way in which a product, process, or system could fail to perform its intended function. To fail to perform its intended function. We've seen GM, General Motors, recall some of its vehicles in the US because the vehicle, that batch of production, was having some form of failure in their engine braking system. That design did not meet up with the intended function, so there was a failure. Example, product can fail, battery overheating failure, display fails, display can fail, motor stops, failure. So there are various forms of failure that can happen. Understanding failure mode. 1, we have process, company failure mode, and we have service. Process is for products. Companies that produces products, like let's use Coca-Cola as an example. I'm not supposed to call him, but I'm just using it. Please pardon me. It's not meant to demarcate the company. It's just for the purpose of this lecture. Products, incorrect stock, missing components, incomplete assembly. These are examples of what? Process failure. When what is designed is not what is seen after production. There's a misalignment. There's something wrong. Let's look at service. Wrong patient medication, incorrect invoice, delay delivery. Each failure mode should be answered. You can see, how can this process or product fail? You must answer, how can this process or product fail? That is the question. Risk assessment in failure modes, effect analysis. There are three factors that determine risk. 1, we talk about severity. 2, we talk about occurrence. And 3, we talk about detection. The severity of failure is how serious are the consequences, and it is rated from no effect to hazardous, 1 to 0. So if we rate the severity as 5, it means that it's mild. 7 is becoming more dangerous. 1, 2 is medium. So in severity, we rate it from 1 to 10. No effect from 1. 10 hazardous. You can use different terms. In safety, we use 1 for severity. We use 1 for what? Minor. And we use 10 for what? Catastrophic. But here, we use 1 for no effect, 10 for hazardous. So let's look at occurrence. How often is the failure likely to happen? In safety, we use likely, unlikely. Then we use very frequent, we use most likely. But here, it's just a matter of language. It's rated 1 to 10. Here is what? Rare. It rarely would happen. 10, very frequent. So you look at it. Then detection. How likely is the failure to escape being detected, to escape detection? Easily detected, 1. 10, impossible to detect. That is bad. So detection is very easy. So before a product or a service gets to the consumer, we want to be sure that we've been able to detect the failure. So we can withdraw within the factory. Though it's going to cost us, but it is still better than withdrawing when product being supplied to the customer, because that leads to reputational damage. This rating determines the overall risk priority. The RPM is risk priority number. Risk priority number is a multiplication of severity times occurrence times detection. In your assignment, you will be given a clue to calculate the risk priority number. Factor: severity 8, occurrence 5, detection 4. What is risk factor? Risk factor is 160 when the 3 are multiplied together. Higher risk priority number value indicate greater urgency for corrective action. Organizations often establish threshold and say any risk factor that is above 100 triggers mandatory improvement activities. But once it's below 100, it can still be managed. Are we together? So you must calculate the risk factor of every service, of every production, to know if it's something that determines urgent attention or not. Hope you know how to calculate risk priority factor number. So let's move to the next slide. Root cause analysis. Wow. This is looking for the cause from the root, the cause of the failure, most likely what would lead to the cause. And you are trying to go to the root of it. So many times people want to solve problem from the surface and it does not solve it permanently. Corrective action should target the root cause, not just symptoms. Common RCA tools, 5 ways. Root cause assessment helps you to answer the 3 or the 5 W's. We call it why did it happen, what happened, where happened, how did it happen, when. Yes, 5 W's. Where, how, when, how, what. What happened? How did it happen? When did it happen? Where did it happen? This answer to this will give you an indication to knowing the root problem. We have the fishbone diagram. This categorizes involvement. People, what might be involved in failure? People. What is the role of people? Those that are involved in the process, the machine that is involved in the process, method of production, material used in production, measurement, figures, the environment with which it was produced. Who? So you can see that this is already answering that question. People is who are the people that caused it. Where? How? Machine. Method? How? Material? What? You get? Where? Environment. Remember the 5 W's. Pareto's analysis is another way of performing root cause analysis. This focuses on vital few causes responsible for most failures. Root cause analysis ensures long-term solution. Pareto's focus on vital few causes responsible for most failure. It's a form of root cause, but it focuses on just like a summary, very quick analysis. We are not going too deep. So we can ask that you perform a Pareto's analysis on a particular scenario of failure or a root cause analysis. So you must be more detailed in root cause, while Pareto just focus on vital few, very important few, picks them, possible causes responsible for failure. Doesn't overbore you. So let's look at root cause analysis. Corrective action should target on root cause, not just symptoms. 5 whys, I've mentioned it. Repeated asking why until the root cause is identified. But I call it 5 W's, not just 5 whys. Yeah. Pareto's analysis, let's look at it. Focus on vital few responsible, root cause on a long term. So let's look at this diagram. This diagram is very helpful when it comes to root cause analysis. We call it fishbone diagram that categorizes people, machine, materials, method, measurement, and environment. High detect rate in manufacturing. If you look at it, if you study it very well, you would see some of these things. Please, I would like you guys to study this diagram very well, understand it. It's going to be part of your final work for the certification of this work. This is more like the major, we are getting to the high point of this training. The fishbone diagram understanding is very key. So I want you guys to look at it, study it, and in our next class and the final exam, we'll be looking at something from here. So last slide for this class is corrective and preventive action. Well, for failure modes, we are talking about preventive. We are not just looking at corrective, please. Because we don't even want the accident to happen. After identifying high-risk failure, organization implement action to reduce risk. Example includes redesign components, improve machine capability, install sensors that can tell us. Sensors will tell you what is wrong before it goes wrong, what wants to go wrong. Increase inspection. So if you have a certification in failure modes, you work more proactively. It helps the organization you work to encounter very low or zero failure in their processes. You can predict beforehand. You are just like a prophet, industrial prophet, let me use that word, who will say, if we do not do this, there's likelihood that something, you are predicting accurately now. That skills is very important for any professional to have, to make them more valuable at workplace. And that is the training you're undergoing now. So we're going to end this class here. Our next class would look at this slide 21 to 30th, the 30th slide. We'll wrap it up. Then we go for the last assessment for this. For now, you take your assessment, your assignment, click on the quiz. You will see what's it called, a write-up there. Copy and paste it on your browser. Take the 15 question assessment. Make sure you submit your attendance. Once it reads 0 on the attendance, it shows that it has been submitted. Goodbye. See you in our next class.